This week on Sultan Plays, let's go back in time.
Space Crusade takes you into warp space.
No, not that far. (1987), Ronald Reagan was the President of the United States and Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Guns N' Roses had just released their first album, Appetite for Destruction, and were tearing up the rock music scene across the world. Of course, it's entirely possible that none of this happened, because I was born in the 90s. So, the fact that everyone makes the 80s seem so great means to me that it might not have happened at all. The world might have just started when I was born. How can we disprove that theory? We can't. I wasn't there. All I've got is what everyone else is telling me. So, we're going to assume that it did happen though. We'll go with that. Working off that assumption, in 1987, a small company from Middle England took their first steps into the world of science fiction with the release of Rogue Trader. Recently I sent a bunch of Rogue Trader era models for a commission, and opening up this box was like opening up a time capsule, a treasure chest, whatever you want to say. It was amazing. I've never been into Old Hammer, as people call it, but looking at this I felt nostalgic, which is odd because, like we've previously established, I wasn't there. The models I got to see made me so happy. Just look at these guys. They've been quite heavily converted by the owner to make them look a bit taller and suit modern 40k. But that's mainly the bases. A lot of what's actually going on is the original sculpts. You've got a lot of the really cool beaky Imperial Space Marines, as we saw in a couple of other pictures, and I just loved them. So I immediately reached back to him and said, please, can I make a video on this? And he very kindly said yes. So that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of this video. I'm going to be painting up these guys, telling you my thoughts on how I find them to paint, and hopefully we'll end up with some cool minis at the end of it. So let's get painting. So these are old sculpts. There isn't a lot of sharp detail, and some of the detail can be a little bit confusing. So for the initial base colours I decided to use the airbrush. I used the Fang, then Rust Grey and a Zenithal, so I got some nice shadows. Then it was base coating. A lot of base coating. Base coating for a really long time because I decided to batch paint all 17. Don't do that, it's not good for your health. Are we done base coating yet? No. No, there's the browns. Okay, yeah, there's still a fair bit to go, so I'll check back in when that's done. So once all the primary colours were down, I gave an all-over wash of every model with Seraphim Sepia, and that's just to make them look old. It was a request of the customer, and you know what, I really liked it. It looked good. Then I went on to base coating some things like power weapons and gems, etc. Stuff that didn't need to look so aged. I made a funky little blend on the power weapons, didn't take me too long, just some thinned paints, working my way from Thousand Suns Blue, Ahriman Blue, Temple Guard Blue, and then Baharoth Blue, and a little bit of white right at the end just to make it pop. And I think they look really cool. After all this, I just edge highlighted everything that needed edge highlighting. There isn't much on these models, they're quite cool. Then I decided to start on the basing. He'd requested Martian Iron Earth, but because he'd already built up these bases with a lot of detail, Martian Iron Earth would cover all that up. So I made everything metallic that could be metallic, and then I mixed up my own version of Martian Iron Earth with a bit of Corn Red, a bit of Bugman's Glow, and a tiny bit of Doombull Brown, and then I was good to go. I base coated it with that. Then I added a wash of Agrax Earthshade just to darken it all back down and make everything fit together on the base. Everyone uses Agrax for this. This is nothing new for you guys. I added some funky colours to the metallic bits, a couple of blues and greens to give some weird sheens. Didn't mean that to rhyme, but there we go. And then I decided to highlight the faces. The faces, by the way, are my favourite things about these models. They're so bloody weird. I mean... what were they thinking? I mean, this guy, he's got like the jaw from hell, and then there's a lad with an eye patch here who just looks absolutely off his face on coke, and I love it. Once the faces were done, I edge highlighted the armour with Fenrisian Grey. This was actually quite a quick process, even though I was doing 17 models, which is pretty cool. Now hopefully you can't see this bit because I'm amazing with a camera, but I dry brushed the bases. After that I grabbed some pigment powder from Abtai Lung, really cool stuff, added a lovely dusty effect. After this I found some tufts, stuck them to the bottom, put a black around the base rims. We spoke about Goblin Green, but he said please no, and I went fine. So yeah, those are the models. I absolutely loved making these guys. I think they're so cool. I honestly think I need to get some for myself and paint them in the old school Blood Angels scheme. Now there's an idea. Anyway, I've been Sultan. See you next time.